My love of history made it even more compelling. Thank you. And of course, I'm grateful to Dr. Marjorie Brooks Jones, the former dean of the Faculty of Liberal and Fine Arts at what is now UB, and Mrs. Patricia Glinton McColas, esteemed author, for their blurbs on the back cover of the book. Marjorie describes it as the remarkable life story of Basil Johnson and a compelling biography, and recommends it to scholars of colonial and post-colonial histories and social and cultural studies, and to aspiring writers of memoir. And Patty, who refers to it as an important book, states that Felicity Johnson has given the crown to her father in her evocation of his life, which shows he earned the title in a life of breaking barriers and rising, all against well-researched snippets of RAF World War II history and coincident changes in the Bahamas. What's in a name? The original title of the book was O Valiant Heart, an acknowledgement of Basil's favorite hymn. I was told by Larry Smith, however, that to capture a wider audience, I needed a title that reflected a Bahamian theme. And so the punchy Black Prince of Grantstown just occurred to me one day. I checked with my 3 siblings to make sure that they had no problem with it. They liked it, and so that's what it became. The title, of course, refers to Basil's nickname as a teenager for his spectacular good looks and his erect carriage, especially as he rode his bicycle. And Grantstown is the over-the-hill settlement beginning at the historic Southern Recreation Grounds and including Hay Street West, where the Johnson homestead stood and still stands today. I officially launched the book on December the 2nd of last year, and by the end of December it was sold out. I'm convinced that the title attracted the enthusiastic sales and attention. I ordered a second printing before Christmas, which has given me the opportunity also to correct those pesky errors that managed to find their way into the script, notwithstanding the vigorous editing, and for which I do apologize. I printed 300 copies the first go-round, based on the observation by the experts that around 150 copies were the average to be sold in this market. So 300 was a leap of faith by me, and interestingly, it has, since then, I've been explicitly told that Bahamians may not read books generally, but they will buy and read what they are interested in, and anything with local history sells. And I found that to be true. That seems to be the formula. The book itself spans an 85-year period and is divided into 3 parts. Part 1, 1920 to 1949, examines Basil's early life, his apprenticeship at the electrical department, and his war participation and activities. Part 2 begins at 1949, when Basil and his new wife, our mother, returned to Nassau through 1999. It includes the early years of the electricity department and its evolution to a corporation, and Basil's advancement up the corporate ladder, his trade union activities, which a lot of people did not know about until they read it in the book, and his involvement with the 1958 general strike, the history of the British Legion, and the Poppy Day appeal, and the never-ending fight for the war veteran benefits. And then part 3 goes from 2000 to 2014, covering Basil's 80th birthday celebration, which drew significant historical recollections from outstanding persons of the era, which I include the actual speeches, Basil's final journey and tributes, and postscripts of information relating to World War II history and the growing interest in the narrative. I give you two quotations by myself in the memoir, which sum up who Basil Johnson was. On page Roman numeral 7 of the introduction, I say that whilst the war was a defining moment in his life, he did not allow it to define him. He grew into a multi-dimensional personality who set his goals and stirred the course. It would have been easy for him to rest on his laurels as a war hero, but he never did. He kept moving on with other goals. And at page 221, I say, "It is indeed a wonderful feeling when a father bequeaths to his children his good name." Marjorie Brooks Jones also refers to the Black Prince as contributing significantly to Bahamian biography, history, and historiobiography. I'm pleased to have produced a body of work that will serve as a point of reference for students and authors of World War II events. Already, as I have described in the book, there's been a growing interest in and recognition of the contribution of the Caribbean to the victory by Britain. However, we were also approached at one stage by a Russian media group that wanted to know about our contribution as a nation, and a Caribbean author writing about Caribbean men who fought in World War II contacted me looking for information a few years ago. I haven't heard from him since, and I didn't see any evidence that the book actually got published. And of course, there's also the 156 Squadron website based in Australia, created by an Australian, www.156squadron.com, which is there for posterity. You can check it out. It's really fascinating information. Children of members of 156, and just so many people just looking for information on family. You know, my father fought in World War II. His name was such and such. Does anyone know anything about it? One of the threats, characteristics of these fellows who fought in the war was that they didn't share very much information in their lifetimes. I think some of them probably passed away before they got to the age where they were able to talk about it. Certainly our father didn't start talking about it until he was in his 70s. When I wrote the book, I really wish that he was still around, because there were still questions I needed to ask. But, you know, I had, I think, far more information than a lot of people would have had on their family members who fought. Looking at the book itself, going to part 1 and its contents, we learn about Basil, born in 1920, the 5th son and child of Robert Bruce and Florence Ethel Johnson of Hay Street West. Hay Street West being a street over the hill of illustrious and proud Bahamian families, including the Turnquests, Sir Orville, the Thompsons, Archdeacon Gilbert and Willie, and the Cambridges. Bert Cambridge was a member of Parliament for the area and also a well-known musician, and situated 2 blocks south of St. Agnes Anglican Church, the Cathedral of Over the Hill. It was the center of most people's family life in those days. Robert Bruce Johnson was a successful businessman or merchant with a bicycle shop on King Street, which was just adjacent to Christchurch Cathedral. And so the family was fairly comfortable by the standards of the day. Bruce was the product of a mixed marriage with Scottish, African, and Eleuthera connections, and Florence was from the Wishes, originally from the Yoruba tribe, of Bain Town's three-piece